What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time tuning in, please be sure to check out the previous uploads of this car. If not, thanks for your continued support. This channel is all about cars, automotive. We race, we build, we review, we talk, we do. So if you're into that, then subscribe. Be part of the little Kyle Pancis YouTube channel we got going on here. I think we got some projects in the works. In today's video, we are talking about a major update on this particular car. This is a 2004 Saab 9.5 Aero with 300,000 miles on it. A lot of miles. And this car runs better today than it did a year ago, of course, since we've been rebuilding it throughout the year. I mean, we've been just kind of fixing things that might break, fixing things that do break, and here we are riding a car that runs freaking amazing. So let me just get past this little merge here. But in the last couple months, we redid the entire suspension on this car. Last year we did the cooling system, we did hoses, we did tune-ups, we did all sorts of the gaskets, we've done the oil pan, we've done subframe bushings. I mean, we've knocked out everything on this car pretty much. We did the front brakes in the fall, and today we're gonna inspect this car again. Not because there's anything necessarily wrong with it, but this car is going to be taking a long road trip down to Florida this month, and it's gonna be down there for the next month, and then driven back, of course. So I'll probably not be here on its send-off, but I will probably take a trip down to Florida, so maybe we'll do an update video as that time comes. But we're a little bit of ways away, and I'm not sure if I'm actually doing that yet. But in the interim, you got about 1,800 miles or 1,200 miles there and 1,200 miles back, so that's 2,400 miles plus driving there, figure another couple hundred miles. So 3,000 miles in the course of the month, right? So not anything unusual for this car. If you guys have been following this car, we've driven this car over 20,000 miles since September of 2020. Probably, sorry about that. It is very cold outside, so the camera decided to fall. So anyways, we're looking at 25,000 miles since we got the car, so 3,000 miles in a month is really not a big to-do with this car. But since it's going out of state for an extended period of time, and there won't be any Kyle Pancis hanging around to fix something that breaks, we're just gonna go ahead and inspect everything again and make sure that we don't have anything missing. So stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will say, I just put brand new tires on this car again. We put over 20,000 on the last pair. Probably could have squeaked out another 5,000 miles on them, bringing it closer to the 30,000 marker. But since, again, it's leaving town and everybody would rather be cautious, it's not worth driving it down the side, east coast of the country on tires with 5,000 miles left to tread. Now, the reason why we didn't get maximum amount of miles on it is because, if you haven't recalled, we just replaced the suspension on this car. So we've been driving with those tires a lot with an aged out old suspension, and of course that would cause excessive wear, which is what we experienced on those tires. So no big deal. We went ahead and put the same brand new tires on. Bridgestone tires. They're all season. They're pretty good. I'll show you at the garage when we get outside the car. So stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed this little update and vlog. We're gonna inspect everything again underneath the car: front suspension, front brakes, rear suspension, rear brakes, and just make sure everything's intact. So let's hop into it. So we're gonna just show you all 4 points of the car. Here we go, our fresh brand new tire in the front. Suspension, everything's looking good. Brakes are brand new in the front, so nothing really going on over here. I see that one of the boots on the steering rack there for the inner tie rod, that boot there's a little chewed up, so nothing really too worried about. But you know, maybe at some point we go ahead and replace that. That thing's hard as a rock, so it's for sure old, dried out, and easily cracked. So Other than that, everything else is in decent shape up here. So we're going to put this tire back on. We'll go to the other side. And I'll show you underneath the car too real quick. All right, driver's side, front. Brand new tire. Suspension's in good shape. Everything's nice and secured. The outer tie rod is doing what it's doing, but I don't think it's time to replace it. It's not popping or anything. Everything else looks to be good shape. Sway bars, solid. This inner tie rod boot is not damaged like the other side, so that's okay. And yeah, brakes are obviously good. Let's check out underneath real quick. I know we're gonna change the oil before this car hits the road. Obviously, we just changed it like 4 weeks ago, and it's already 2,000 or 3,000 miles on the oil. So that's just kind of how this car rides, guys. So if we put $1,200 a year, like last year, let's say out of everything we put into it, maybe we did like $800 for the suspension, which is a lot. But if we go ahead and let's say we put another $300-400 into the car, so let's say we put like $1,400. So let's say we put $1,400 into this car, and out of the $1,400, let's say half of that was from the suspension. It's really cheap to keep these things on the road, guys. A lot of people say that these things are money pits, and yes, there can be times where you're spending excessive amounts of money on it. But overall, when you average it out, every single person in the house in my family drives this car, right? And everybody enjoys it. So for that factor alone, and 25,000 miles later, it's really not that big of a deal. So so far in 2022, we've done tires, so $800, and we're gonna do another oil change. So we're already close to $1,000, but we have to do tires no matter what car you own. And there you go. It's justifiable every time. So far for 2022, we got tires on the clock. I think we're gonna have to do the rear brake pads. We're gonna check those out here in a minute. But just real quick, under the hood, everything again is out. Everything again is nothing out of the ordinary here. We have all of our fluids in check, and here is our steering, and you can see it's dripping, so that means it's not empty, it's not leaking, thankfully, knock on wood. All of our valves have been replaced, all of our lines, our breather hoses, our vacuum hoses have been replaced. Coolant level's decent there. That I usually top up every like 5,000 miles a little bit. 220,000 miles on the engine. I mean, it's, you know, a little burning or a little loss of coolant is not the end of the world there. So just an eye on it. And again, we've done 2,000 or 3,000 miles on this oil change, and it is relatively full. Hard to see, but it's not low by any means. So we are not burning any oil, and underneath we are not losing any leaking. So here you go underneath, guys. This side of the oil pan looks a little bit moist, but again, nothing really too out of the ordinary for this car. Maybe that is losing some fluid from the seal. I've never replaced the seal on this side, so maybe that's where that's dripping from. That's a relatively fresh drip right there. I'm not gonna lie, that wasn't really doing that like that before. But then again, it's not the end of the world. It looks like it's coming from above the oil pan. So the only other spot that would leak from is behind the main crank. That's probably where that's coming from. And again, I have never replaced that or touched that since we've owned the car, so not the end of the world, but maybe something we should check into. Maybe we'll wait till the spring. We'll see. Alright guys, so at quick glance yesterday when I was just making sure all the brand new tires have good tire pressures, it looked like the rear pads need to be replaced, but after a real close inspection, this outer piece has plenty of meat left, and so does the inner side. So these, I would say that these have another like 5,000 to 10,000 miles left on these pads. So these must have been just replaced, not not too much later than we had received the car. We got the car around 195,000. So, and these have about, I guess, 25,000 miles on them since we have the car, and there's still some meat left. So these must have been fairly new when we just got the car. So I'm not going to touch these yet. I might wait till the spring. I might actually divert my attention further to that slight oil leak in the front. For like a few bucks, I can get the a gasket and replace the seal on that rear main seal. It's not the rear, it's actually the crank, the front main seal, since we've never actually done that on this car. So we'll go ahead and replace that. It's not leaking profusely or in any severe manner, but we should go ahead and just address it since it's not that big of a deal. And in the interim, I don't think I've ever changed the serpentine belt on here, so we'll go ahead for a few bucks more and just put a new belt on with the tensioner. Might as well. It's really not that bad to do it. So I'm gonna go through my history, make sure I didn't do it. I don't think I did on this car. We've done so many Saabs in the last like 2 years that they all kind of like blend together in my head. I know the 2008 9.5 we did it, and then on that black 9.5 Aero that I had from 2003 that we sold during 2020, that one I know for sure we did all that. So, well, anyways, we'll check out my history, but in the interim, the rear here is in decent shape. I don't think I'm going to need to touch those brake pads until the spring. And then, of course, this car is being driven down to Florida, which is 3,000, let's say 3,000 miles, like I said earlier, in the month of February. But it's going to be mostly highway driving, so this shouldn't be an issue. And in the interim, everything else looks like it's in good shape, other than some typical aging rust back here. But we can go ahead and probably fix some of this at some point in the future as well. So keep going here. We're definitely gonna need to do something back here. It's definitely getting crusty, but hey, we got a lot of miles on this thing and it's what it is. If you guys have any suggestions for all that, drop a comment down below. I know there's been a ton of Saabs out there with this issue, and of course, it's not something that I'm gonna go too crazy over right now, but it's definitely something that should be taken care of. Or at least treated a little bit, since we're going to be holding this car for a little bit longer. In fact, there's really no plans of getting rid of it at the moment, so especially with all the money we put into it with suspension and tires. So, all right, let me wrap this up. We'll go for I'll go check my records on this and go for a quick cruise. All right, guys, so I went through the list of videos to make sure we never went ahead and did the serpentine belt or any of that stuff in that area. Hold on a second. So had to get that in my system there, but we've never serviced the serpentine belt or any of those seals that I was talking about there by the crank. So we are gonna, I ordered the parts. It was like 40-50 bucks for the belt and all of the seals. So it's really not that big of a deal. It's all in the same area to service. So while I'm in there, I might as well change the belt. So I've never changed the belt, so I don't know how old it is. So it's not a bad idea to just do it while we're in there. So that oil leak just recently sprung. I mean, I was under the car like what, last month, changing the oil on this thing, and there wasn't any of that moisture there. So that's a brand new leak, and it's not dripping on the driveway, so it's definitely not an urgent leak, and it's definitely not leaking profusely. So yeah, for a few bucks we'll get the seals in there, and it'll probably take me about an hour to knock it all out. So it's really not that big of a deal. I got to remove the passenger side mount there on the engine, which isn't always which isn't so bad, but you know, it is what it is. So we'll get in there, we'll knock it all out, and I think we'll be ready to go. And as for the rear brake pads, we'll knock that out in the spring, and this thing's ready to keep going for another 25,000 miles. I don't know what to say other than that it's a Saab. It just keeps on going. So we'll keep up on the maintenance, and drop a comment below if you guys have any questions. You can follow me at Pancis as well on Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.